Now let us try to understand a few different ways to control a loop. Basically, we will learn two different ways of controlling a loop. The first one is the count controlled loop, which you already know about it, where there is a loop control variable like this loop count. It starts from a number and it can go until a condition is fulfilled, and then in the modification part of this count controlled loop, what happened, the loop control variable is actually going through some kind of arithmetic operation in order to modify the loop control variable. So here the loop control variable is called loop count, which is initialized to 1, and then it is said that, well, loop until the value of the loop control variable loop count is less than equals 10, like this, and until then you can print this loop count. And then in the modification part, what you are doing is you are incrementing, or you can call it arithmetic increment of this loop control variable to keep track of the count. So that's the point. In the modification, you are utilizing some arithmetic operation to keep track of the count or increment the loop control variable. Now, there is a second way to control the loop, which is basically an event controlled loop, or more specifically, we are going to learn about something called Sentinel controlled loop. What happened there? In Sentinel controlled loop, there is a loop control variable that can be an integer or it can be anything. For example, in this code, I have used a string as the loop control variable. The name is inchar. And then what it needs to do, instead of checking anything less than or greater than some number like in the count control loop, instead of doing that, here it is basically checking the value of inchar whether it is not equals some specific string. In our case, it is just n. So here it is not checking whether it is less than or equals or something from a number. Rather, it is just checking with a string. Well, it can be a number, but just for the generalization purpose, I am using a string here, since our loop control variable inchar is a string. Now here, just like the previous loop, I am actually printing the loop control variable inchar. Now here is the main difference between this event control or the Sentinel control loop and the count control loop. So if you look at this line here, instead of doing any type of arithmetic operation in this modification part, it is basically asking the user to enter some kind of input for the inchar variable. So here inchar is not being modified as in here utilizing some arithmetic operation. It is not using any arithmetic operation, but the loop control variable here is actually incrementing based on the input of, or not incrementing, or modifying based on the input from the user. And that is the difference between a Sentinel controlled and a count controlled while loop. Here the modification is basically an arithmetic operation to modify the loop control variable, but here the modification is basically an user input to modify the loop control variable.